Wherefore, Part 38. At first the loss of full moons and her time with Badger Boy confuses Elizabeth. Then it makes her angry, because she has lost a part of her life and does not know why. Anger brings determination. She sets up cameras in her home and garden and finds out what happens at full moons. Watching herself turn into a rhubarb in flickering film from the motion-sensing camera is deeply unsettling. Watching her Badger Boy shift into his human form to sit next to her plant self is a bit heartbreaking. Knowledge is power. How this knowledge can be turned into power she does not at first know, but Elizabeth is not someone to be slowed down too much by a challenge, even on this scale. Clearly, she has to figure out how not to change, that is all. There must be an antidote to rhubarb. There must be a way to resist. This is her body, and she did not ask to have it turn into a plant. She does not consent, and she will not cooperate. It is a place to start. Stroud is a good place to find alternative service providers. Elizabeth scours the internet and finds several women who claim to teach transformation, body reclaiming and empowerment. She phones them, working down the list. The first two do not respond well to the question, "Can you help me not turn into a rhubarb at the full moon?" The third is silent for a long time and then says, "Maybe." Elizabeth finds the uncertainty reassuring. Elizabeth meets Catrice at the Curio Lounge. There is background music to cover a more exposed conversation, and there are rules about the Curio Lounge. Elizabeth has taken advantage of this before. It is the place to go for assignations, and the rule is that if you see someone you know in there with another person, you pretend you haven't seen them. You don't ask. You don't approach. You never speak of it. How this pact was made, Elizabeth has no idea, but it works. "You aren't the first person to ask," Catrice says. "I don't have answers, but I know this is a very real problem and I'm working on solutions." Elizabeth is cheered by this. They talk for a while about what Elizabeth believes. Vague feminist goddess stuff. Catrice admits to favouring chaos magic. Belief is powerful if you can harness it, so we need to work out what you believe in strongly enough. Elizabeth gives this some thought. "I believe in myself, and I believe something has been done to me without my permission, and I believe in my right to body autonomy," she says. Catrice nods. "I can work with that. Let me give this some thought." They meet again a week later. Same place, same time. "Here's what I'm thinking," Catrice says. "You get one full moon night in a month. It's not enough to work with. The key to breaking this is going to be what you can do the rest of the time." "Makes sense," says Elizabeth. "So what you need to shoot for, I think, is being able to deliberately turn into a rhubarb at some other point in the month. Knowing how to change should teach you something about how not to change. It should give you some control, some insight, I think." "This is mad," Elizabeth says calmly. "Isn't it?" says Catrice. "But it gives you more opportunities to try things." She has a list of things for Elizabeth to try. "Let me know if any of this works. You aren't the only shifter I'm talking to. You can all learn from each other." "Will do," says Elizabeth, liking that this is a bit like science, but also totally ridiculous. And so begins the work. Elizabeth is diligent and open-minded and powered by simmering rage. She tries something every day to get back control of her body. She stands outside barefoot. She visualizes her rhubarb self. She goes on guided meditations. She talks to the moon. She prays to the spirit of the plant. She plants a normal rhubarb in the garden and talks to that and sits next to it. Day after day, ignoring the frustration and the lack of progress, because this is her body and she is not going to keep changing in this way. There is a full moon when she can feel the change coming. She fights it, stays inside, watches her arms turn green as she feels the pull to get into the soil. She cries. She throws up. She holds out for perhaps an hour. It is an enormous victory, and she lets Catrice know. By September, she still can't change at will. She goes into the garden ahead of the shift, and Badger Boy keeps her company. What else is there to try? Smear jam on herself as some kind of sympathetic magic? duct tape herself to something indoors. Blood sacrifices to the moon, blood, bone and fish meal sacrifices to the garden. What's off rhubarb? She knows from Catrice that religious symbols and holy water do nothing. She is sitting on a book by Richard Dawkins, just on the off chance. Now she is daubing the word no onto her skin with a messy organic ink she has made out of ash and oil. She does not want to change. No is a new word for the spirit of the rhubarb. Until recently, they had no awareness that refusal could be an option. Having sauntered about doing whatever they pleased, the spirit is bemused to find that not everything falls neatly at their rooty feet anymore. Not everyone does as they are told. Now there is this female person who seems not to want the great blessing she has been given. Humans are confusing. But in other ways, this is more interesting than simply making them do stuff. Yes. No. Or maybe. What new dances might that involve? How much more scope for entertainment might there be if a person says yes, or even comes looking for rhubarb transformation? How much more fun might that be? And how much more noticeable? And if it is noticeable, then Wigston might notice. A little sigh shivers through the rhubarb spirit's many leaves. Why doesn't he notice? Wizards make no more sense than other humans. This kind of thinking is unfamiliar and tiring. The rhubarb spirit wants to be entertained. It is the night of the full moon. People are turning into plants, but where is the joy? Where is the sense of victory or achievement? They feel bored and realise with horror that as much as anything else, they are bored with themselves. This is not good. Something must change at once. The spirit who has caused Elizabeth so much discomfort sits folded small in her lavender bush. She does not know they are there. She feels a little odd, but attributes this to her coming battle with the power of the moon. In truth, it is the transforming spirit of the rhubarb reaching the part of them that is inside her. The were-rhubarb is no respecter of human notions of inside and outside, amongst other things. And so it feels the magic that is inside Elizabeth. It feels the power to transform, and it tastes all the many complex, delicious emotions in her body. Why not give her the power to decide when she changes? No. Wait. It would be funnier and more chaotic to change her changing, so that it comes in response to one of these many feelings. The were-rhubarb pauses, considering which emotions should trigger change. It is exciting to think like this. They chortle to themselves, make a choice, make the change. Then, running, laughing, skittering from the garden in a state that is entirely playful, or all malice, depending on how you look at it. Elizabeth does not know. She thinks it is the consequence of her own hard work that she does not change. Her badger boy is delighted, and there is touch and kissing, and they have missed each other so much. She feels her body changing with the heat of desire. And then she feels her body changing in other ways with the cool kiss of chlorophyll. And it is perhaps appropriate that the last thing she says before turning into a rhubarb plant is, "Oh, fuck!"